Hi, I'm Dana, and I've recently been doing a little series called The Info Dump because I make a lot of quite heavy content focusing around autism and the like, and sometimes I want to be happy, okay? And I think we don't see enough autistic joy in just enjoying our special interests. A lot of us feel shame and guilt and whatever else around them, and I think that's bullshit. I get you, because I've felt the same. There's a lot of times that I really don't like the way that I info dump to people. When someone very briefly asks, oh, so do you watch Doctor Who? And then 30 minutes later, I'm like, so that's why Christopher Eccleston's one of my favourite doctors. You know, I get it. But I also think that learning to appreciate ourselves more and just enjoy things, very good thing. So that's what this is about. There'll be a link up there somewhere for the first episode, which was about Ashes to Ashes, but I'm making lots of them. There's one about Doctor Who, and this one's about Kevin Smith. I've gone really out of my way to try and get as much of his work on tape as I can, because I feel like it's just more authentic and shit. I like having it on tape. I still need Jersey Girl. I still haven't seen Jersey Girl. I still kind of don't want to see Jersey Girl, but I probably should, because like I say, he's my favourite director and I don't think he can really fuck up that much that I wouldn't like one of his films. So we're gonna just talk about Kevin Smith, and I'm gonna really enjoy it. We're gonna talk about his movies, we're gonna talk about why I love them, we're gonna talk probably a little bit about his daughter, because I think she's fucking fab as well, and we're just gonna have a nice time. I feel like I should have rolled a smoke to go with this. I'm not even spoken in a video about Kevin Smith, but I'm already a little stoned, so it's fine. So obviously I think the first thing we need to talk about is Clerks. Now I've been into Kevin Smith for about the last 3 years, but I didn't get Clerks the first time I watched it. I just didn't get it. I watched it and I was like, okay, some bits were kind of funny, but okay. Whereas when I watched it a little later on, I was like, holy fuck, I feel like this film has changed my life. A lot of people feel that this sort of represented the generation, which, what generation? He's 50. Does this represent the boomers when they were my age? Anyway, Clerks and Clerks Too. Now, if you've seen Clerks 2, we all know that it's not as good as the first one. And there's also a lot of white people saying the N-word and other things that, as a very, very white person, I'm not about to repeat. It's very inappropriate. It's very of its time. It's something that I very much question why Kevin Smith thought that was a good idea. But sometimes you've just got to be like, yo, this is from 2005? He probably just didn't know. I highly doubt Kevin Smith was trying to upset anyone or be a racist or be an asshole. He thought it'd be funny, and it's not anymore. So with that out of the way, Clerks and Clerks Too, I feel like have absolutely, literally changed my outlook on life. The conversations that Dante and Randall have, really, changed the way that I think about so many things. Basically, Dante works in the Quick Stop. He kind of hates it, and he's probably not even supposed to be here today. And his mate, Randall, works over in the video shop next to it. So when I was working in a video shop, I was very I'm living my Clerks dream. There's a bunch of side characters. It's part of the Askewniverse. It's just fantastic. But a lot of the conversations that Dante and Randall have are because Randall's very laid back. Randall's very this is my life and I'm living it and it's fine. Whereas Dante's one of those people that there's an issue all the time. And it's never his fault. It's never his fault. But there was always some sort of issue in his life. So a lot of their conversations revolve around Randall just being well, be happy with what you've got. You know, in much better wording, because it's written by someone that knows a lot more about life and writing and whatever else than I do. But in the second one, they're working in movies together, which is just the Askewniverse version of McDonald's. And there's a whole conversation they have where Dante's this is my life and I didn't really want it to be like this and it's just how it is, and it's am I happy or do I want more? And then and Randall's just you live your life in whatever way makes you happy. However you choose to live. It might not work for someone else. Other people might be miserable with your life. And other people might judge what you've got going on in your life. Very sorry if you can hear the ridiculous downpour we're having. Shit. And yeah, that completely changed the way I viewed my life, because so many like parts of my life I feel very behind other people. I'm like, I'm not doing enough, I'm not doing well enough. And I sort of sat back and I was like, yeah, like Randall's like really right. Like if I look at my life just as like me looking at my life, I'm really happy with it. I like the things that I do, I like the things that I have. It's only when I start thinking about how other people view me and my life that I get like all comparison-y and shitty feeling. Why? Why? I don't need to. So Clerks changed my life, and it's just a great beginning to the Askewniverse, because all the movies sort of tie in. I've got them in this little order because it's the Askewniverse. I'm rubbish at explaining things because I'm crap at remembering things, but they're basically all connected through various different ways. So let's carry on. Morvax is where we get introduced to Brody and TS, who are like, I mean, they're kind of assholes, but you kind of love them for it. And I mean, it's also, as you can see, got Shannon Doherty in, and who doesn't love Shannon Doherty? But yeah, Morvax is sort of just the most 90s film you've ever watched. Brody and TS are sort of like hanging out in the mall where every teenager ever hangs out. Brody's bird, Shannon Doherty, breaks up with him, so him and his mate TS go to the mall, and that's where there happens to be like just loads of people that they like know and talk to, and it's all very funny. And there also happens to be a whole like dating show that it turns out his girlfriend's going on, and I don't want to explain the whole thing and spoil it, but shit pretzels. It's a great film, it's really funny, it's another great addition to this universe, and it's where we get a lot more Jay and Silent Bob, because like they are in Clerks, but for me, Jay and Silent Bob are sort of the whole appeal of it. I really, really love Jason Mewes, and we're doing a whole video about Kevin Smith. I obviously love Silent Bob. And Dogma is where we get even more of them. And Dogma is a really, like, it's such a dumb film, but it has such a special place in my heart. Because I first watched this when I was like 14, and I had it on tape then too, because I was going through my big Alan Rickman phase, and it has Alan Rickman in. So I'd watched it, and I was going to a Catholic school as a completely like non-believing, non-religious person. And this meant the world to me. All of like the religious satire, and like it's done in a way that I don't feel like overly offensive to people who are religious, because I don't like that. I don't like people just being rude about other people for no reason. But it's genuinely funny religious satire for those who aren't believers. Two angels are gonna fuck up the world. It's got old Ben Affleck and Matt Damon. And this one woman, Bethany's got like the power to stop him because she's like the chosen one, so Alan Rickman as an angel tells her. And then she goes on this like whole journey, and they meet up with other people. They meet up with Jay and Silent Bob. There's a shit monster. Alanis Morissette is God. Does that not say everything you need to know? Alanis Morissette is God. I fully believe it. Like if God was going to be real, she would be Alanis Morissette. It's one of those movies that I can just watch over and over and over. And not only do I tend to actually gain something new from it, but I actually enjoy it every single time. It's a fantastic movie. Like Kevin Smith absolutely outdid himself here, and he just continues to do so. Now, the next movie I'm talking about is Chasing Amy. And I could do a whole video just on this because I've got a lot of thoughts about it. We basically focus on the character Holden, who wants a woman, because men. And he finds a woman he likes in Alyssa. So you're probably wondering why it's Chasing Amy, that's the whole thing. You need to watch it to find out. Watch it. But Alyssa's gay. Alyssa's a lesbian. And Holden's like, but couldn't you not be? And like with Clerks Too, only instead of racism, it's homophobia. It's very much of its time. It's very... And as like a gay woman, I am a bit like, ugh, at a lot of it. Because it's just so obviously written by a man who doesn't understand sexuality all that well. But at the same time, it's written by someone who understands people. And it's very, very heartfelt. It's very touching. It's just really beautiful. Like, there isn't a time that I've watched this movie and not enjoyed it, or not, like, thought some, or not had it, like, provoke some new thought or whatever. You know, it feels like it very much understands people and the way that love works. And I kind of like, even though as I say, I do have issues with it as a gay woman, I do kind of like that it sort of shows that there's more of a spectrum of sexuality than a lot of people think. I'm not sure if that's what they were going for. And also, I'm sorry, But if any lesbian was gonna sleep with a man, that man would not be Ben Affleck, would it? Which brings us, it doesn't bring us, we're just moving on. We're moving on to Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. Obviously, as someone who fucking loves Jay and Silent Bob, that squeak noise was something else. I just absolutely adore this film. And this specific videotape is one that pretty much lost me my last job. But I still love it. I'd love to tell you more about that whole situation, but my ex-boss would probably issue me with another cease and desist that he threatened. Arsehole her. But anyway, the basis of this movie is that it sort of ties in everything else that we've seen, because obviously like all the other stuff also had Jay and Silent Bob in, and this has them basically meeting like every other character we ever see all over again. And it's essentially, there's a movie being made in the likeness of Jay and Silent Bob, which is Blunt Man and Chronic, which fantastic. And they decide to set off to Hollywood because like they're not making a fucking movie that Jay and Silent Bob are basically in without Jay and Silent Bob getting the damn cash. And it's just madness ensues from there. Jay like meets a woman, they both meet a monkey. It's just a whole little romp. It's just so fun and it's so funny. And like it's definitely sort of stoner comedy. That's sort of my favourite type of comedy all the time. But it's just fantastic. It's so fucking funny. And I really love the way that like throughout all of these films, like the more you watch them, the more you pick up on little things. Like, okay, spoiling a bit of Clerks and a bit of Chasing Amy for you, so skip ahead a little bit if you don't want that. There's a woman in Clerks that ends up having sex with a dead man in a bathroom. Pretty grim. And Alyssa is mentioned in Clerks. And it turns out that Alyssa's heard about the girl that had sex with a dead dude in the bathroom, and she mentions it in Chasing Amy. Like, there's just lots of little bits that I really enjoy throughout the movies, and then they all sort of tie together here. And then they all sort of tie together in Jay and Silent Bob. Now that's where my tape collection ends, because last I say, I haven't seen or owned Jersey Girl, and I don't know if I want to, but I have watched the rest of his movies. Now, Clerks 3 is currently being made. I'm incredibly excited for that. Like, other than Jay and Silent Bob, Randall and Dante are definitely my favourite characters in the Askewniverse, and I'm just so excited to see more of them. But continuing, the next Kevin Smith movie I want to talk about is Tusk. Tusk is one of the weirdest, most fucked up, most poorly thought out, just ridiculous movies that I have ever watched. And I loved every single fucking second of that movie. I love Tusk, and I'm gonna try. I struggle to explain why, because it is bizarre. To cut down a lot of shit, Justin Long and Emily Osment's brother, it's the kid out of that movie where Bruce Willis is a ghost. Him, they're like podcast hosts together when they like find some kid that like cut his own leg off. There's some shit that goes on. I don't pay an awful lot of attention to the setup of movies. I just like wait for it to get into it. So Justin Long like flies off to interview this dude, but he's already killed himself, obviously. So he's like having to like just look around this little like Canadian town to try and find something interesting to like get on the podcast. And he finds like a weird little flyer and goes up to the house, and it's this like old guy that's just really weird and bizarre. One sec, I definitely know who the old dude was. Michael Parks. I was going to say Willem Dafoe. But yeah, he goes to interview him and they're like having tea and it's all fine. And then Justin Long's like, oh fuck, I'm feeling a bit dizzy here, like things aren't going so well. And he passes out. And the movie progresses essentially with it turning out that this old man ended up like seeking warmth and comfort with a walrus. And he's been pretty obsessed with that ever since. So he's kidnapped like a lot of other people and murdered them so that he can use their body parts to make Justin Long into a walrus. Like cutting off his limbs, you know, sewing on other people's limbs to him, giving him like, he turns him into a walrus. And it's just absolutely fucked. It's body horror, it is like psychological torture. You're thinking the whole time like Justin Long is aware of what is happening, but he's a fucking walrus being fed fish. It is bizarre, it is fucked. And like I say, I could not stop watching it. Like, I'm so, I don't know, fascinated's even the word. Maybe I'm just horrified by it, and that's why I think about it regularly. It strikes me speechless, it really does. It's just, I don't have the words for it. I don't know why I love it so much. I don't know why I find it so fucking funny. Like, I watched it with my partner, and he was horrified. Like, he was fully horrified. He didn't laugh, he didn't smile, he was sat there just like... And I was howling with laughter. There were so many parts of Tusk that I found really fucking funny, and I probably shouldn't have, and I don't really know why, but I did. Like, I think it helps that I love Justin Long, I love Kevin Smith movies, Jason Mewes was in it for like 2 seconds, I really appreciated that. Yeah, I just loved it. The only other film I want to talk about today is Yoga Hosers, because that sort of ties into Tusk. And I don't feel like Yoga Hosers gets enough love. I really enjoyed Yoga Hosers. I think the main issue that it had, like, as a film, is that it got put out to the wrong audience. I don't think that, like, Kevin Smith's general audience is the audience that'll enjoy Yoga Hosers. That's just, I just, like, think that's how it is. Like, from my experience with, like, the Kevin Smith fandom, it's predominantly older males. Like, there's plenty of us girls too, but the, like, general demographic is older males. And they're not gonna enjoy a movie about 2 young girls doing yoga and being badass and destroying Nazi bratwurst sausages. Yeah, okay, I had to do a little bit of reading up on it, because I prefer shit from the 90s. I haven't kept up that well with what he's currently doing outside of Clerks 3, because I'm so excited. But Yoga Hosers is a spin-off of Tusk, which is in itself like a spin-off of the Askewniverse. It's great, I'm into it. But it's basically these 2 girls called Colleen and Colleen, who are played by Harley Quinn Smith, Kevin Smith's daughter, and Lily Rose Depp, which is Johnny Depp's daughter. And Johnny Depp's also in it. Like, it took me and my partner a solid, like, 20 minutes of having seen Johnny Depp to be like, oh, fuck, it's Johnny Depp. Like, we did not catch on at all. But as I was saying, I think that if this film had been marketed towards, like, women from maybe, like, 16 to 25, I think it would have done a lot better. And instead, the Wikipedia is all like, it was a commercial flop. It was universally panned by critics and audiences who viewed it as a low point in Smith's career. And it's like, I don't think Yoga Hosers is his best movie, but I don't think it was a low point in his career either. I thought it was a really good film. I really enjoyed it. I found it entertaining and comedic and interesting, and I really enjoyed it. You know, and I do kind of think it's a case of like, well, I'm the part of his fandom that is going to be like, oh shit, we're getting like young women as the main characters. They're just like me. This is great and relatable. And that's probably why I enjoyed it. I'll give it to you. But I just, you know, it's another one where like the plot is crazy. He must have been more than smoking weed to come up with a plot like that, to be frank with you. But I really enjoy it. I think it's really fun. You know, I think that a lot of people maybe really want a film to have a point or have a message or to like really make you feel something. And like sometimes I just want to be able to watch a film and be like, oh, that was fun. I enjoyed that. It was fun. For my final little end bit, because this is going to be a long video. I've talked about like a lot of movies here. It's going to be a long video. But I finally just want to talk about the podcast that Kevin Smith does with his daughter, which is the Vegan Abattoir. Because I'm not usually the biggest fan when celebrities just sort of promote their kids, you know? I'm sort of like, okay, like, you've got your daughter singing on stage, but like, she's not a good singer and I didn't pay to come and see your daughter sing. Like, this isn't a school rehearsal. But when they're actually good, like Lily Rose Depp is and like Harley Quinn Smith is and like Dave Grohl's kids are, I'm like, yeah, fair dues. Like, if your kid is talented at this thing and you can give them a leg up into it, why wouldn't you? It's fine by me. I've forgotten what I was talking about, like, outside of the podcast. But yeah, he does a podcast with Harley Quinn Smith, his daughter, called The Vegan Abattoir. And as a vegan, I think it's great. Like, I definitely would recommend people to listen to it. I think it's a very interesting podcast. I think they're both quite funny. They get really good guests on it. And yeah. And I think that I kind of respect Kevin Smith a bit more than I do a lot of people because he's vegan. As someone who weighed 360 pounds and then like went vegan and lost all the weight, it's really nice to be able to look at someone who's like famous and successful and be like, oh, he too weighed more than he probably healthily should have and went vegan and lost the weight. You know, like, I don't think anyone needs to lose weight. I think, like, if you can be comfortable and be happy with how you are, be how you are. Like, it's none of my business. But as someone who's been in that situation without the heart attack, it's nice to be able to, like, look at someone that creates really cool shit and that I really like and be like, he knows what that's like. I know he's entirely unobtainable and I'm not gonna, like, get to meet him and be like, oh, Kev, like, yeah, man. But, like, it's nice to look up to someone and see that they relate to things you've been through, is what I'm trying to say. You know, he just seems like a really nice guy and he's just out there living his life, doing his best, making great films for me to consume. I love it. I really love Kevin Smith. I love his movies. I love Jason Mewes. I really like his daughter. She's in a TV show called Cruel Summer. I don't know why I'm just promoting Harley Quinn Smith now, but she's in a TV show called Cruel Summer, which is, like, set in the 90s, and I think it might be a little bit gay. And I'm gonna watch that as soon as I can. It's on, like, HBO, which is difficult for me to, like, figure out in the UK. I'm probably gonna have to watch it illegally, but I'm definitely gonna get around to it because she's a great actress. And I feel like she's just one of those people that's, like, figured shit out, you know? Like, she just seems like someone who's on it. I like her. So yeah, like, as far as I'm concerned, protect the Smith family and Jason Mewes, who's basically part of the Smith family as far as I'm aware. Protect them at all costs. I love them. Yeah, I have nothing else to say now. That's my whole thing. I just really love Kevin Smith. I feel like this has been rantier than my other info dumps. Like, it wasn't, like, it's obviously happy, but I am happy. This has improved my mood. And I'm probably gonna go and... Oh, I shouldn't, but I really just want to watch Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back now. I forgot to talk about the reboot. Let's just leave it there. The reboot's great and you can watch that. You should watch that. The reboot is brilliant. It also has Harley Quinn Smith. How did I plugged her HBO show, but not the movie she was in with her dad. Anyway, whoever you are and wherever you are, I hope you're having a lovely morning, evening, afternoon, day, week, month, year. I hope you're having a good time wherever you are. And I'll see you again in a few days.